Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
Are your digital rights under attack? GDPR Reform.
The European Commission is on a law-cutting spree.
We will deliver an unprecedented.
That's like here in the States with Doge.
Similar.
We have to cut red tape.
I thought she was still in trouble.
In its fourth omnibus
don't
package,
talk
in
about
other
it.
words, a fourth wave of law simplification proposals, von der Leyen claims it's making EU laws more business-friendly. And now the spotlight is on the General Data Protection Regulation, better known as GDPR. It's the EU's flagship data protection law, widely praised as the gold standard and a headline grabber all around the world. Supporters called it a win for data protection and people's rights, and critics said it would crush innovation under a mountain of compliance rules. But love it, hate it, or even if you know nothing about it, the GDPR was a milestone. And now Ursula von der Leyen's commission wants to rewrite parts of it. They claim they are not scrapping the GDPR, just aiming to simplify it. In this video, we'll start with a quick refresher on what the GDPR actually does. Then
Okay,
break
good, because I've heard of the name, but I don't really know the details.
down the proposed changes, and ultimately, what does it all mean for the future of digital rights in the EU? GDPR came into force around 7 years ago in 2018, and it applies to any entity, whether a company or an organization or a website for a political group, handling the personal data of people in the EU, even if that company is based outside of the EU. Now, what counts as personal data? Pretty much anything that can identify you: your name, email, phone number, IP address, or even your location or online behavior. And for the first time, people in the EU got serious control over that data. For example, you've got the right to access your personal data, the right to correct it, the right to delete it, aka the famous right to be forgotten, and the right to restrict how your data is used. Companies simply can't just sneak consent past you anymore. They need clear,
don't like
informed, and
that.
affirmative permission.
Everything
No
is available on the internet. It's crazy.
more pre-tick boxes buried in the fine print. Plus, your data must be handled fairly, legally, and transparently, collected only for clear reasons and only if it's truly needed. Take Volkswagen, for example. If you book an appointment to get your car serviced, they'll collect your personal data: your name, contact details, maybe your license plate or vehicle history. That's fine, as long as it's used for only that purpose. But if they then use that data to target you with ads or share it with third parties without asking you first, that's a clear GDPR violation. And those bring serious consequences. Companies can be fined up to 20 million euros or 4% of their global turnover, whichever is higher. So what is Ursula planning to change? Let's start with record-keeping obligations. Today, companies with fewer than 250 employees, that's your typical small or medium enterprise, or in short SMEs, are usually exempt from keeping detailed records on how they handle personal data, unless they're processing the data in a risky way. Now, the EU wants to loosen that rule. Under the new proposal,
I mean, risky is a little bit vague, isn't it? What is risky? I feel like it has to be more defined and unless data is risky.
the exemption would extend to companies with up to 750 employees, as long as their data processing isn't considered high risk. So, we have two big changes here: a tripling of the employee threshold and a shift from risk to high risk, a term the Commission hasn't really defined. That
Right. To me, high risk, honestly sounds like the same thing because there's no clear definition. So like, what? That's so open for interpretation.
raises a few eyebrows. Is this still about helping small businesses, or are much larger companies now getting a free pass? Because according to Eurostat, a staggering 99.9% of EU companies fall under the 750 employee line. So this change would cover almost everyone. And crucially, there's no external oversight.
Interesting. So to me initially, when I saw 250 to 750, I'm like 750 is still a small business. Like not okay, not small, medium business. It's not by no means a large business. But if basically almost every business is that, then it's kind of everybody's exempt except from Amazon,
Which is okay. Where
Aldi.
they can
I
get the
don't know.
money from.
Yeah,
The fines.
yeah. So I don't. I guess as that. Yeah, it's problematic. If it's 99.9%, it's problematic. If it wasn't 99.9%, if it was 90% or so, okay, there's still a good chunk of. But at this point, you only leave like the worldwide businesses, like the Facebooks. That's kind of.
Here in the States, when there's a policy that seems to target a group of people, they challenge that because it's like, is this discrimination?
companies decide for themselves whether their data qualifies as high risk. Basically, they have complete flexibility to interpret what high risk means for themselves. So, why are these changes being made? Well, the Commission claims that simplification is designed to ease the load on smaller companies. They argue that if small and medium-sized businesses no longer have to keep detailed records, they'll spend less time on compliance paperwork and more time on what really matters, running their businesses and staying competitive. Combined with other
That is true, though. And we have seen him actually on his own channel praising for I guess less regulations too, to kind of for streamlining the
But
process.
to give up your privacy,
I mean,
that's not one thing I'm gonna do.
that's a lot of bullshit to deal with. On the other hand, if you have 750 employees already, might as well hire 2 3 more for this data compliance. Like it's much, that 250, 2 3 employees, it's much more significant part of your workforce working on this versus someone who has 749. I don't know.
other simplification measures, the Commission estimates that this could save EU businesses around 400 million euros a year in administrative costs. But over 120 companies, civil society groups, and digital rights experts say there's no solid independent evidence to justify these changes. Many companies and data protection officers do not want the GDPR reopened either. They say rules like record keeping actually help them stay on the right side of the law. Changing the rules now would create what Brussels calls legal uncertainty. Bad news for smaller businesses who suddenly won't know if they're actually following the law or risking huge fines. And for companies that did put in the work, building compliance into their business and turning trust into a competitive advantage, this feels like being seriously undermined. Why weaken the rules and reward those who've done less? Bottom line, clear rules mean fair competition and safer innovation. Then there are civil society organizations who claim there are significant downsides, especially for us, the people, going about our daily lives in a digitalized society. Their main point? Risk and harm do not shrink with company size. The reforms would lower requirements for smaller companies, but even a 5-person startup can harvest, sell, leak sensitive data, and create immense harm. Next, they point to the bigger picture. Is this really about simplification, or is it about giving?
I mean, yes, the small company can create immense harm, but at the same time, for a small company, it's much harder to manage that, because if you have 10 employees and you just don't have the funds and you're trying to grow, you cannot afford to hire 1 or 2 people just to work on your data. Like for innovation, you have to sacrifice a little bit of that. That's why those less than 250 workers are exempt from this law. Because to me, that makes sense. Like you just cannot stay compliant.
Don't you think that it kind of discourages people from like going to a small business if their information could be compromised?
Well, people don't really know if it's a small or big business. You don't, when you go like shop on some random website, you don't check, how many employees they have.
No, but in terms of like, your don't they have to kind of warn you and say, your privacy?
Yeah, there's a notice. You have to agree with it. It's just this is more about storage, not. Yeah. I disagree with this one. I do feel like, again, is 250 a small business? I don't think so. I think 250 is a medium business. Small business, I would say maybe under 50 people. It's a small business. So no, if you as I said,
business is like 10. It's like a mom and pop.
that's like, yeah, but I think the 50 people, like the owners that have that have a business that have 50 employees, I think they consider themselves a small business though. I don't, because it depends what you do, but if you have like a, let's say, irrigation company, you can 20 people work in your irrigation, but you still work in a small office, because you don't, those people, they don't actually, they're not there.
It should depend on the field.
But again, that complicates things, and we try to simplify everything. So I get what you're saying. On the field, it makes sense, because in one field, 50 employees is different, and if you have 50 coders, that's a big fucking business.
Yeah.
But if you have 50 construction workers, I mean, yeah, what are you doing? One construction project at a time? 2 construction tops? That's not really a big business. So, of course, it does matter, but to simplify it, I think we have to find an arbitrary number.
Into pressure. Tech laws are among the most heavily lobbied in the EU, and behind the curtain, there's a lot of industry money, big tech actors and foreign actors pushing for looser rules, often in the name of innovation. And finally, experts say this is
I think, Europeans don't like this, but for the spirit of getting rid of American technology and kind of becoming up to par in technology field, you need some of this. You don't have to go full on America, but you have to make a little leeway for companies to grow.
Slippery slope. Once you reopen a law like the GDPR, it becomes easier to water it down again. What starts as simplification could end up gutting one of the EU's strongest digital rights laws. And it's not just the GDPR. The EU has already scrapped the e-privacy regulation, dropped AI liability rules, and proposed cutting several other laws on environment and corporate accountability. More rollbacks are coming, including talk of delaying the AI Act, which took years to negotiate. This isn't just cleanup, it's a wave of deregulation. Instead of weakening the GDPR, many companies, experts, and civil societies say the EU should enforce the rules it already has and give better support to help small firms comply. So, what happens next? The European Commission has proposed these changes, and now it's over to the European Parliament and the Council of the EU. They'll discuss, amend, and if there's enough political support, possibly adopt the new rules. But what do you think? Do you agree with the Commission that simplifying and weakening the GDPR is worth it to ease the burden and cost of businesses? Or do you side with companies and NGOs who say the EU should focus on enforcing the rules we already have? Because according to them, they support innovation, protect our rights, and keep the playing field fair. Let us know in the comments. And this video was brought to
That
you.
sounds very altruistic too on that side, what the NGOs feel.
I think we should, make businesses to be easier to run, less paperwork and everything. But I don't know if this is the hill to do that on. Maybe when it comes to tax compliance, make them do that, less audits or some shit like that. I don't know.
To me, how I see from their perspective, because it sounds very altruistic. Oh, we want to do good practices and protect data, but I also think they want to create a barrier of entry so that you don't just have people just growing in the economy. You become my competitor.
Yes, and that stifles, growth and startups and that's what Europe wants. Europe wants to
They want competition.
they want to have their own tech company. Well, we're talking about tech, I guess, because this kind of tech field. They want to try to compete with America, and when everything is, there's so much red tape and there's so many rules to abide by, you can't really compete with a country that barely has any rules. It's just it's hard.
It's like switch this with meat.
But
Like you want to have the people in the Europe have options and choices on what meats they can have. So if you less the regulations to allow for other meats to enter your market,
you're
then
talking
you have
about
free
the
competition.
chicken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to me, it's a similar
It's
same thing.
similar thing. Yeah, I agree.
Can I see the comments?
I work in tech. Trust me, if companies can abuse your data, they will. Absolutely no laws protecting you citizens from predator corporations should be rolled back. Existing rules are great.
It's tricky, especially when you know that they want to remove this protection. Who's gonna sign up?
But they don't want to remove it. They just want to adjust it, though.
What does that mean?
Well,
Adjusting
from
means
250
less.
to 750. That's the
That
main
means
difference.
less protection.
Less protections, but not zero. What were you saying? This is raw population to American big tech at the expense of Europeans. Innovation does not require deregulation and selling out people over extra revenue stream through selling our information. We don't want American surveillance. Well, that's the point, though. I don't feel like this is to give America, because American companies have more than 750 employees. They would have to comply. This is to have European startups become competitive with American companies. I feel like these people don't watch the video, what he's saying. They just go in, leave a comment what they feel about it, and that's it. Because that's not what this is about. I don't really, because all American companies that are big in Europe, they're gonna have to comply because they have more than 750 employees. How many employees Facebook has? Amazon, Google, they have tens of thousands of employees. Yeah, this is.
Okay, guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.